Welcome back to another installment of Inside of the Business with Sir Churchill Williams. My name is Lemuel Truitt, and I'm your host. Come follow me. We're going to go a little bit more deeper inside of Churchill's book, CUM Management. This time is all about support your child. One thing that Sir Churchill told me in his book is that being over here in South Park, the Villa Americana, which is also known as the land of the vicious animals. Also, you can call it the VA. Kids over here didn't have two parents in the household. Therefore, come on and follow me. Kids over here didn't know what it was like having a dad in the house. So therefore, they had a mother that was a single parent that basically went to work in the morning and came home at night. So Churchill is gonna take us rather, inside of the life of him over here. Sir Churchill, how you doing today? My man.
I'm all right, man. How you doing?
I'm wonderful. Church, we over here in the Villa Americana,
Right,
the land of the vicious animals.
right.
You was over here, Church. Basically, you was over here, and this is where you grew up at this apartment unit.
Right. Well, when I was over here, we lived in apartment number 37. I had my one of my good friends, Jeffrey Cox, rest in peace. He lived right here to my left. I also had my big brothers that were like my role models, Bob, Fathead, and Kurt. They were the sons of Miss Gloria. You know, their father wasn't present either, but he showed up and did his weekend duty as well, along with the rest of the fathers. Right now, I want to give a shout out to a lot of my people, man. As you seen, we came by some scenery en route to the Villa Americana. Well, you know, I got my people up here, Roger, his brother with the wheelchair, Buffy, me Skin, like I said, Kurt, Corey, Mary, Mamoose, Gwenny, Bob, Rodney, Fathead, Jeff, Anthony Benjamin, Shelton, Falanza, Stafford, the Menifees, Terry, Merlin, Angela, JL, and Junior. And of course, we had the Moffats and a whole lot of other friends. If I didn't mention you, forgive my forgetting, charge it to my heart. Also, I got my man Keith Babin on the scene, which joined us later on, and you know became a part of this story, you know, that we're telling as well.
Church, you know, this is a very interesting story. You know, you talked about you took on parenting at a very young age where you had to be a parent to your siblings because your mother worked from morning to night. How was that life, Church?
It was what it was. I didn't know that I was taking on parenting. I just knew that I was doing what my mother had instructed me to do. You know, when she left in the morning, she had a strict set of guidelines that she laid out for me to make sure that, you know, things were taken care of. And when she got home, she was on top of her business, making sure that we did what she laid out for us to do.
You know, Church, you talked about your dad in the book. You talked about at the age of 5, him and your mom split. And from that point on, Church, you also shared with me in conversations about that you didn't really, you know, it was normal not to have a parent in the household over here in the villa.
Right, it was normal not to have a dad living over here, but I didn't know that you were supposed to have a dad or you wasn't supposed to have a dad. It just ended up being like that, and we noticed as it went along. But around this time, when I was 10 years old, was when I would be calling him and, you know, trying to get in touch with him and asking him questions like, you know, why him and my mom can't be together, or, you know, are they going to get back together? And, you know, he would just always tell me that, you know, everything gonna be all right or whatever. But you know, that's how that went.
You know, Church, parenting has a lot of responsibility and accountability as well. You know, most people think you could just give your kids gifts and that's just all you need to do when it comes to being a parent. But inside your book, Church, you talk about being a role model, being a teacher. Can you share with us?
I mean, well, one of the most important things that we all need to know as black men is that we need to realize the power that we actually possess, the power to make changes, and the power to make effective changes that can make a difference in the world. When we lay down and decide to become a parent, we are making a change by changing our condition to become a parent.
Right.
But we also need to make a change in the condition of the way things are going now and the way things are being presented to these children now. And I say that meaning that, giving them something positive to look at, because like if we realize the power that we possess, we can give these kids something better to see. And I also said in the book, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, you're going to end up being what you see. So if they growing up seeing something strong and positive that they can look at within, a lot of times they're going to gravitate towards that and duplicate that. So we need to do better as far as realizing the power that we possess, and not only making the kids, but making time and making the proper moves necessary to raise them.
Church, in conversation, when I was asking you, when someone may ask you, well, who is Churchill? Churchill was raised without his dad. How can he be someone to give us advice? But your response back to that question, Church, was, what? Me and my friends had that responsibility of raising our brother and our sister, or your sister, or their sisters. Y'all took on that role. Y'all both had the responsibility. Y'all both shared that role as far as parenting over here in the villa.
Yes, well, we all were doing the same thing. So I would watch my friends, being big brothers and somewhat,
Right.
father figures to their brothers and sisters, and
Right.
I did the same thing as well.
Right.
I didn't know what their parents' guidelines were or what they laid out for them to do, but I knew what my mom had laid out for me.
Right.
So I was going to be held accountable to that, and she was, not playing about her directions being followed to
Right.
the letter on a daily basis.
Right. In Church, can you share with us, what was your relationship like with your father?
My relationship with my father it was kind of like we was friends, but he was always my daddy, man. And another thing, let me make sure I be real clear about, as we've been going on week to week with this, sometimes it seemed like I may be bashing my dad, but let's be clear, I love my daddy.
That's
what I mean?
good. That's
no
good.
matter what my daddy was, no matter where he was or where he wasn't, that was my daddy.
Right.
So, I love my daddy. I always wanted my dad's approval. I guess all kids should want that. I don't know if I'm the only one, man enough to step out and say that or whatever, but I love my daddy.
That's
right?
good. That's good.
So, back with the shade.
But that's right, Church. But Church, once again, at the age of 10, you told me that's when you really start missing your dad. At the age of 10.
That's when I was making the phone calls, and that's when I was realizing that I was wanting to see him and all of that, because I wasn't seeing him. But at the same time, he did his part in being deceptive, telling lies and not living up to the things that he was telling me he was doing, that he was going to do. He was supposed to come pick me and my friends up one time and take us to Astroworld, but he never came for that. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up having to hear that a lot.
Right.
About them not, by him not standing up to his end on that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it was all good. And as I got older and as he got older, well then, our relationship changed and really was really cool. We were more like friends, but he was always my daddy, and I always called him daddy. But the thing about it was, I guess at a certain age, he realized that he wanted a do-over at being a daddy, so he thought he was going to do it over with my kids. That was not going to happen because he didn't do an effective job, with his own kids, so he didn't get a chance to do it with mine.
Church, there's a saying that says that you're a product of your environment. Church, you could have took on the same role as your dad, right, when you became a parent, but you decided to do something different. You decided to close the gap between, your kids and how you raise your kids versus how your dad played a role in your life. Can you talk about that?
Right. Well, around the time when I was 10 years old, I was already deciding that, I didn't like the way my situation was, and I just knew in my mind that whenever I was going to be in position to be someone's parent, that I was going to definitely do better and have my kids in a better situation than the situation that was provided for me. So it wasn't necessarily about bashing my dad or discrediting my mom, but it was just knowing that I was going to make a change and I was going to do better. And to this day, That's why I can stand here and tell you, how to go about doing this and how to go about doing that. Not that I try to tell anybody how to raise their kids, because they don't come with no instruction manual, and I'm not the authority to tell anybody how to raise their kids. But one thing I do know is that I'm active and I'm on the job, so I just feel like that gives them a better opportunity at trying to, at growing up in a positive situation. Another thing, let me say this right quick, Neil. Now, one thing in society is that a woman will say, the black man sorry, they lazy, they ain't taking care of their kids, these boys sorry, they ain't taking care of their business. But then when you got one on the job, taking care of business, on the clock, ready to do that, well then, we find situations where he's not allowed to do it.
That's good.
So what a woman need to do is make sure that if you want a man to, be there with you, he gonna pay the bills. He gonna sow his seeds into building the kingdom and make the process go along. But then you want to emasculate the man and not allow him to properly, participate in raising the kids. Because see, the one thing the mother always want to do is try to, well, don't do my baby like that. Don't talk to my baby like this. Don't talk to my baby like that. But then one thing I want to let all the women know is this. See, when you got a man and you got a woman that's the parents of a child, both parents need to understand that me as a man, I have never been a woman and can never be a woman. So I can't effectively raise a child from a woman's point of view or a woman's perspective. But a mother needs to understand the same thing, because you as a mother have never been a man, so you coming up short on that end too. So if you have a man that's on the job that laid down now when the spine tingling, toe curling euphoria was going on, coupled with heart stopping, jaw dropping euphoria, let that man raise his kids.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And as we were having the conversation earlier, you asked me about what's the difference between the mindset of coming from a place like this as opposed to a place where I live now.
Especially when it comes to parenting church.
When it comes to parenting.
Right.
The difference is, and my answer to that question is, the difference is the people, right? Because see, my wife, she comes from a 2-parent home in the suburbs. I come from a 1-parent home over here. So that's the difference. Regardless of where we live, it's the people that's living in the situation that's raising the kids.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right.
Because my mentality is going to always be a mentality coming from South Park, Dead End, Villa Americana, Orleans.
And that would be a little bit more firmer than it would be coming from the suburbs.
It's gonna be way firmer than coming from the suburbs, and it's gonna include some harsh discussion.
They're right. You may have one parent from the suburb tell the kids, sit down. And then the other parent from the projects may say, sit your ass down.
Exactly.
And that could be kind of tough. And at the end of the day, we all got different belief systems, especially when it comes to how to raise a kid. But the most important part that I can say based on reading Churchill book is about being an example. And not just being an example, but also teaching your kids something. Anybody can buy a kid a gift. But I think the more that kid may have that gift, play with that gift, and break that gift. But the lesson will be with that child for a lifetime. And that's what Churchill talk about when it comes to supporting your child. One thing I realized, even out of all these, installments that I've done with church, is he has a very strong passion when it comes to parenting. And I've seen his life with Blake, and I've seen his life with Bryce, and I see the respect that they have towards his, their dad. It's a mutual understanding on knowing who he is and them knowing who they are to him. And when I tell you that when it comes to them doing their chores, when it comes to them doing their homework, they're doing great in school. Bryce is actually in college. The little church is doing good in high school. But one of the things is middle school, 7th grade. But one thing that I like about them is they on autopilot. Church don't have to so much micromanage them on their responsibility. I saw little church take the trash out on his own. You understand what I'm saying? I saw him doing his homework, even though he said it was going to be a lot, but he still came to his dad and was honest about it and said, it's a lot of homework, but I'm going to knock it out. And I admired that. And I respect that. And I really believe that that's what parents need. Every household needs a good government in the house. And I believe that. And I believe that we can find that lesson in Sir Churchill's book. and if you take the time to read it. You know what I mean? Because I'm enjoying every installment that I spend with church. And to be honest with you, this whole conversation, with these interviews is drawing me even closer to church and allowing me to see his mindset, but also his mission on why he wrote this book. You know what I mean? And the most important part is the choice. You have a choice. It can either be good or bad. You know what I mean? But one thing about it, and Churchill said this to me as we was coming here. He said, you know what? He said, you know what, Lamille? He said, my child may not agree to everything that I'm saying, but it really doesn't matter because I'm there to be his guide. And I'm not there to be his friend. Even though we can do friend things, but it's so important that I be his guide because I've already done the things that he's either gonna do or he's already done. And he need me all the way to the end. And I respect that. I truly respect that. This is Inside the Business of the Choices You Make. My name is Lamille Truitt, and Sir Churchill, it's a pleasure and an honor that you will take me along with you and just allow me to come over here where you grew up at and just listen to each chapter talking about your life, talking about the life of a player, and all those things. I had fun. You know what? There's many sides to Sir Churchill. But one thing, is always the business.
It's always the business. Hey, stay tuned because we just on chapter 7 right now. We also have 3 more chapters to go. And if you want to ask me questions with people, be asking questions, sending them in to my email. My email is insidethebusiness@yahoo.com. You can follow me on YouTube at Churchill Williams, Facebook, ITB Barbershop, Instagram, Inside the Business. But right now, stay tuned.
Hey, what's up, world? Hey, I'm Keith Babin. Stay tuned for my story, how I rose, how I fell, and I resurrected. Upcoming movie, the author of My Mama Tears. It's time for a change. Get in where you fit in at.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to all the mamas that did all the hard work over here. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got to understand we come from a special place. This is a special place right here. When you coming down Martin Luther King and you get to Solinsky, you're going to either make a left or you're going to either make a right or you're going to go to what we refer to as the dead end. Truly understand this. We walk a little different. We talk a little different. Our swag a little different. Males and females alike. Because we come from a special place. This place right here molded us into the men and the women that we moved on to be today. And we always inside the business. Stay tuned. Thank you. Thinking about you.